This is the worst decision Prime Minister Carney has ever done.
It's starting to make a lot more sense now. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Doug Ford blasting the Liberals, which is funny because he's a Liberal himself. He blasts Mark Carney and Sean Fraser. Mark Carney has run off to Europe to try to secure new trade deals with our new low-carbon trading partners. This is a plan that's been in the work for a long time before he became Prime Minister. We got some more updates on the Tylenol situation, the conflict in Russia that seems to be expanding, a new NDP leadership candidate throwing their hat in the ring. We also got Guilbeault bringing back his online harms bill. Let's jump into this. Why don't we start here? Breaking: Doug Ford approves Canadian Islamic College as North America's first fully accredited post-secondary Islamic institution, which teaches based on the Islamic primary sources, the Quran. The CRA's linked MAC, the parent to the Muslim Brotherhood. Tables are also posting the first ever Islamic college contains no images of women without a hijab. I want to know, is this a requirement to attend? Good question. He is also posting a leaked Concordia student handbook, no mention of Christmas, Canada Day, or Hanukkah, but highlights the Palestinians' Nakba, the Cuban Revolution, and an Oka crisis. We are in trouble, Canada. Yep. It also makes no mention of Concordia mass pew pew events, but mentions Polytechnic. Got Doug Ford with this one. Look at this clown. He's announcing he's getting rid of traffic cameras, and look at this embarrassment.
With speeding tickets, days, because enough is enough. In a few weeks, our government will introduce legislation to ban speed cameras in Ontario, to protect taxpayers and drivers and stop them from being gouged.
Come on, does he not look at the optics of this? This looks ridiculous. So they're going to be replacing speed cameras with these things. Well, these will reduce the speed of some people. They will work on some portion of the population. This press conference is ridiculous. And some people won't care. They'll just continue to speed through school zones and nothing's going to change. Does he own a sign company? Who knows? Maybe. Those signs need to be in more than one language. Next up, we got Doug Ford going off on Mark Carney and Sean Fraser.
That is way overreach. It's way overreach. Again, another area of overreach by the courts and the federal government.
So Doug Ford here is talking about the notwithstanding clause, attempting to limit the province's use of it. He's not happy about it.
Why doesn't the minister actually go forward and start focus on bail reform? Why does he start focus on mandatory sentencing? Why does he focus on Young Offenders Act? There's not one person I've talked to that has said, we want to give the judges, more politically appointed judges, more authority. I haven't heard one person, but he's so bent on going up there. He messed up the immigration. He's messed up housing. Now they put him in as Attorney General. He needs to focus on what counts for the people. Come up to York and ask anyone in York, should we give our federal judges more power, or should we focus on crime? Should we focus on bail reform? Should we focus on Young Offenders Act, that these young kids, 14 years old, right here in York, are running around with guns? I guarantee you won't have one person say, let's give judges more power and reduce the democracy that people elect people to make decisions. And by the way, let me tell you something. It's not just this premier. It's premiers across the country are on fire. This is the worst decision Prime Minister Carney has ever done, and it will be an absolute disaster. And I don't believe it's going to go through. It just takes Quebec and Ontario to block it. So why is he wasting his time? He should get back to work and focus on what areas really matter.
Why does an old Dougie here call up his buddy Mark Carney then and ask him himself? Well, I agree with what he's saying here. Doug Ford is a fake conservative. He's a liberal. He might as well run for the liberal leadership in Ontario. And as all these people are saying, they think he voted for Mark Carney. He probably did, sadly. Next up, we've got this little guy back in the news, Stephen Guilbeault. He's trying his Online Harms Act bill again. This is what, third time or fourth time now, trying to limit Canadians' free speech. This guy won't go away with this.
We've made a commitment to combat online harms. I have myself worked on that during my first passage at Heritage between 2019 and 2021. Many of my colleagues have continued on that. We tabled a bill in last Parliament, C-63, that was aimed not specifically at online harms, but also modernizing the criminal code. So we will be introducing measures to address hate speech, terrorist content, and the harmful distribution of intimate images.
The irony of this, Online Harms Act. These guys are the ones causing the harm to Canadians. George Orwell, what the F? So the Liberals will decide what hate speech is. Hope the prison can hold at least 10 million people. If you H the Liberals, you're going to jail. Once again, this is the Minority Report law. You should watch that movie if you haven't seen it, Tom Cruise. It's the future crime law where they scan people's brains and think, okay, this person is going to commit a crime in 5 years. Then they just go arrest them before they commit the crime. That's what they're doing here. Except they don't have brain scanners, so they're just going to decide willy-nilly who they think is a bad guy and a good guy. This is all a ploy for power, control, and money. Follow the money. If we look at where Mark Carney is now, he's off in Europe. Why is he in Europe? Because he's trying to strengthen his ties with our new market that we're supposed to be selling our eco-green carbon credit, all that stuff, our low carbon products to. If this doesn't work, if he doesn't get that market, he's got nothing. All we have to do is follow the money. What did Brookfield do just before the election? Mark Carney's got this future of his net zero agenda. He's rolling out in Canada. Then one must ask, why did Brookfield, through their Brookfield business partners, sell the Altera infrastructure, formerly TK Offshore business? Now, what is this business? It's a shuttle tanker business. You see here, Altera Infrastructure, formerly known as TK, a global operator in shuttle tankers. Shuttle tankers are the smaller tankers that run the oil from the platforms out in the ocean to the shore, to the refineries. And this is one of the biggest companies. Brookfield used to own this. As you see here, specialized vessels that transport crude oil from offshore production platforms to coastal terminals with operations in Canada, St. John's, Newfoundland, Brazil, which Brookfield has operations down there, and the North Sea. In 2017, Brookfield invested $640 million in TK Offshore to finance new shuttle tankers, later acquired full control in 2019, rebranded the business as Altera Infrastructure under Brookfield's ownership. Altera became one of the world's largest shuttle tanker fleets, running at least 4 vessels on Canada's East Coast oil fields. In late 2024, just as Mark Carney was getting ready to kick Justin Trudeau out the door, they saw the writing on the wall. Trudeau was gone. There's no way he was going to come back from this, and Carney knew he was going to step in. What did they do? They sold this business. Brookfield agreed to sell Altera's shuttle tanker unit to Greece's Angelikousis Group, which branded it as Marin Shuttle Tankers, with the transaction closing in early 2025. I've got all the receipts here. TK Offshore Partners and Brookfield announced strategic partnership. This is the original announcement. Another announcement, you can see here, Brookfield Business Partners acquire 60% of TK. Brookfield invests $610 million, etc. Then we got this one. This company here renames Altera to Marin Shuttle. The company was acquired from Altera Infrastructure, a subsidiary of US-listed Brookfield Business Partners. If the true future for Canada was to have more oil and gas, then why would they sell this? Because they knew they were rolling out a net zero agenda, and this would go down in value. That's why they dumped this. They bought this back in 2017. They upgraded it. They increased the value of this company, and they knew Mark Carney was going to become prime minister. They dumped this, made money off this, rolled out his net zero agenda. This is all about money. This is all about money. This is a greedy man. This is all about money. While Carney's gallivanting around in the UK and Europe, his ministers are making fools of themselves in the House of Commons. Check this out. It's quite the zinger here. Once again, Liberals just embarrassing themselves. They tee this up and they don't even realize it.
After 10 years of Liberal mismanagement, Canadians can't afford to put food on the table. In August, food inflation outpaced overall inflation by 84%, and food prices have gone up another 3.5%. But it was this Prime Minister who told Canadians he would be judged by the cost of food. Well, it's now Canadians who are paying the price for 10 years of Liberal photo ops, higher inflation, and breaking Canadian promises. Was this the Canadian dream that the Prime Minister promised? A country where Canadians can't feed their families?
Mr. Speaker, do you know what the best predictor of future behavior is? Past behavior. That's right. And Canadians have watched.
You can see it the moment she said it, she's like, uh-oh.
They might not applaud so loudly after I read through the list of things that these folks have voted against year after year. Mr. Speaker, school food programs, childcare, tax cuts, support for training, support for union investments, Canada summer jobs, Mr. Speaker. Canadians wanted a government that believes in them, that invests in them, and they have that with this government.
Canada's lost over $50 billion in investment in the past few months. People can't afford to eat. People are sleeping in tents. This was never the case before. You didn't see average, everyday, working Canadians sleeping in cars and tents. That's your record. So yeah, if Canadians want more of that, vote for the Liberals.
How did our country score, Renee? Well, not great, Marcia. Food insecurity and poverty, believe it or not, up by almost 40% nationally over the past 2 years. That is according to Food Banks Canada's National Poverty Report Card, which for 2025 gave Canada's poverty reduction efforts a grade of D. Now, that grade is an average of 3 criteria. You can see them on your screen. Our overall grade is D. For unemployment, which went into that overall grade, we get even worse. We get an F. The report says joblessness is up by 34% since 2023, with youth feeling it the most.
But the government told us it has nothing to do with their mass immigration. Nothing at all. This is a disgrace. Look at this. We're beyond people sleeping in tents. The whole country's going to be living out in the woods soon.
Failing grade, with more than a quarter of households struggling to afford food, and that is up from just over 18% in 2023. With visits to food banks up by 90% since 2019, according to Food Banks Canada.
And look at this legislative process. That's an F. The fact we can't get rid of these guys and then they trick Canadians, that you fearmonger, to get back into power. This needs an F.
Public debt charges is $53.6 billion, and that projection is going to increase to in 2030 to $82.4 billion. Is that sustainable?
Every dollar spent on debt is a dollar that is not spent elsewhere.
Again, how alarming is that for the average Canadian, for the taxpayer? Because there is only one taxpayer, right?
It should be very alarming, right? These are stupefying, shocking, right? It's not a funny fiscal outlook. It's a really serious fiscal outlook. And we don't lightly use the word unsustainable. Unsustainable means you don't have the option of saying, maybe I'll wait a couple of years, I'll see how things go. It means if you don't change, this is done, right? So it's very serious.
If we don't change, we're done. The parliamentary budget officer just said that about our country. We are on the brink of collapse. We have 1 year to a year and a half before this dog and pony show is over. Will the brilliant banker use his brilliant mind to save Canada, or is he going to inflate the value of his stocks instead?
Well, let's look at the past record. Justin Trudeau promised to Canadians that he would lower food prices by Thanksgiving of 2023. Never happened. This Prime Minister told Canadians he should be judged by the cost of food at the grocery store. Well, judgment has been rendered. Beef is up 33%, grapes up 22%, coffee 24%. And now we have apple farmers raising the alarm with the sharp increase in theft of their product because Canadians can't afford the grocery store. How many people and how many families are going to be forced to the food bank before this Prime Minister admits Canadians he broke his promise?
Sadly, this is a cultural thing. When you bring in people who don't have the same values, they just see a bunch of apples on trees in an orchard. Great, let's just go in there and take some apples. It's the same situation where you have the salmon run, and Canadians know you don't go and scoop up the salmon during the salmon run because they're creating more fish and it's against the law. Liberals are bringing in people who don't have those same values. They don't care about this. It's not their cultural norm. They'll just steal all the fish, steal the apples. This has to end.
If there is a silver lining, Mr. Speaker, it's that I see some promise and perhaps that member supporting the budget that will be tabled very shortly this fall, where we will propose ambitious investments in Canadians and Canadian families.
This is delusional. We know this is going to be like $100 billion budget here. You're trying to tee this up as it's some sort of big investment in Canada, just like all the other ones Trudeau put out. And who benefited from it? Trudeau himself. All his goons and gangsters, many of these people, not Canadians.
In Canadian workplaces, in Canadian unions, in major projects, in our national defense system. Mr. Speaker, I can only hope that Conservatives have seen the light and they should stop voting against Canadian interests.
That is so rich coming from them. The Liberals spent $6 million on a barn. We still don't know what that barn's for. Got this one from Caroline Elliott. It says, devastating editorial from the Globe and Mail taking aim at David Eby's complete and utter incompetence when it comes to fiscal matters. The return of that BC NDP 90s show. And then the rerun of the 90s show began. Under Mr. Eby, that surplus evaporated. Since then, the province has plunged deep into the red with the most recent quarterly update showing this year's deficit rising $11.6 billion from the earlier forecast of $10.9 billion. John Horgan, also NDP, gave David PPE be something like a $6 billion surplus. So this really comes down to complete and utter incompetence. You have to ask, this guy's directly connected to the CCP, his advisor, Ding Guo, directly connected to the United Front Work Department. Are these massive deficits running these up have anything to do with China? We look what's happening with Mark Carney as Canada's in bad shape. We've got Europe on the brink of a new conflict. Participants in the anti-Trump project are preparing to send Ukrainian troops into Moldova. What is going on here? We know Mark Carney is going to be profiting handsomely off the rebuild of Ukraine. Are they trying to pull in more nations to make that a bigger project and where more money can be made? I don't know. Moving ahead here, we've got this guy, Avi Lewis, is putting his hat in the ring for NDP leadership. Who is this guy? Because I'd never heard of this guy. He's a dad, movement builder, NDP leadership candidate fighting for the 99%. When you Google this guy, it comes up with this. Avram David Avi Lewis is a Canadian politician, journalist, and activist. Yeah, perfect candidate for the NDP. Lewis is an associate professor at the University of British Columbia. That's hook, line, and sinker. This guy's probably going to win just based off of that. He's like textbook NDP. Here's a couple seconds from his hype video.
Along the way, I butted heads with the powerful. You're going to proclaim that.
Why you say that?
Prove me wrong then and abrogate it.
I'm telling you, listen to me, Louis, and let's be finished.
Hold on, Jason. I want to insist that you answer the question. You told the Calgary Herald that you support private health care. I just want to know if the Alliance Party does. You slashed 62 transit routes. You tried to close libraries. You said you'd do it in a heartbeat.
And for 4 decades, I have stood with workers, telling stories of working class heroes, organizing for dignity in factories and fields, classrooms and care homes, shop floors and fishing fleets. Now, I want to stand with you.
Okay, so this guy, he's got enough past history being on TV, saying all the right things. It's a strong pitch, as this person says here, strong pitch, but I'm a little concerned that your pitch is only for fixing rent, is a national cap, yada yada. This guy's a professor at UBC, an activist. Good luck with that. Okay, we got a little update here from this Tylenol situation. So this is a sad story. This is a nurse who was called by a man whose wife is in the hospital now. She's currently perishing because she took a bunch of Tylenol to prove Trump wrong. She's 23 to 25 weeks pregnant. Now she's got liver failure.
On a ventilator in an ICU because she was trying to prove that Tylenol doesn't cause autism because of what Trump said on the news. Mind you, that's a Harvard study. Now, whether or not you believe the Harvard study or not is not the issue here. The issue is that she's somewhere between 23 to 25 weeks and she overdosed on Tylenol. And she's going to die. She's not going to come off that ventilator.
Yeah, so she's going to lose her life because she's got extreme TDS. Meanwhile, what has surfaced? A CBC report back from 2020 talking about Tylenol.
And medical health experts has released an important statement on pregnancy and pain medication. It's part of a study in the British scientific journal Nature. And here's what it does. It cautions pregnant women about using acetaminophen. And that is the active ingredient in Tylenol and many other medications that so many of us use to relieve pain or fever.
Okay, so we don't need it anymore. You get the point. This even came from the CBC, and now you've got mainstream media pushing back against this extreme TDS, people trying to prove Trump wrong. This is so ridiculous on so many levels. And now you've got a mother who's going to perish, and now the father has to decide to try to save the baby while his wife perishes. It's insane. Meanwhile, we've got a man discharging his pew-pew at 7 a.m. in Winnipeg because we don't know why. It wasn't at a person, it looked like it was at a dumpster. We also got this guy on the street trying to put together a pew-pew here in Toronto. What do you think, doctor or engineer? I gotta go with engineer on this one. Definitely would take an engineer to put that together, wouldn't it? I don't know what's more shocking is the fact this guy's building this on the street here, or that you've got people walking past and looking at what he's doing and are not alarmed by this. People don't seem to see a problem with it either. He's a misunderstood engineering student working on that engineering degree.